Welcome to an all-new episode of Press YYZ, your favorite Canadian gaming podcast. A friendly reminder, as always, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ plus lives matter. You can catch this show weekly on youtube.com/PressYYZ, live on twitch.tv/PressYYZ every Wednesday at 8 Eastern, or listen to it on your own time on podcast services like iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and more. We appreciate however you choose to support the show, including a sub over on Twitch. That free one that comes with your Amazon Prime. But if you've got no loonies or toonies to toss our way, it's no big deal. We'll be here for you no matter what. This week, we are bringing back an old segment and giving it a bit of a fresh coat of paint. We are going to be talking all about Pokemon. Pokemon Day is this week, and we want to dissect everything that is the Pokemon series. But we'll talk about that in a bit. In the meantime, I am your host with the most, Mr. Mitch George, joined as always by the man behind the ones and twos, Alexander Cozy Cozina.
Hey, I'm in a pokey mood today.
Our pretentious film student, Alex Ballant.
Filming movies takes a lot out of you.
Including your voice.
Yeah, that was very quiet.
I was yelling a lot this weekend.
Our thumbnail thespian, AJ Fraser.
How you doing, everybody?
And last but not least, the phenomenal Nathan McInerney.
I'm very excited to discuss Digimon today.
Hell yeah.
Okay, let's get right into that then, because I was having this discussion earlier with a friend of ours, Leonidas, a friend of the show, about Digimon games versus Pokemon games. And I actually said that Pokemon has a better hook to it. They give you a better sense of progression than any other RPG, and that's why it's the RPG of choice for me, or as most people would call it, baby's first RPG. But we're going to talk about Pokemon in a bit. No, go ahead, rebuke, and then we'll get into the show.
I can't say it has a more engaging. What were your words? More engaging loop than any other
More
RPG?
engaging gameplay loop. Yeah,
gameplay loop. I can't agree with that, because if so, wouldn't I have played more Pokemon?
Maybe, but we'll get into that in a bit. In the meantime, it's been a week.
It has been.
Yeah, it's
last
been a week.
Well, last week we wanted to talk about what we've been up to, and then Nintendo decided to drop a direct on us the day we recorded, and that's all we could talk about.
And boy, was that a direct.
Or worse.
It was definitely a
if you want to check it out, you can go check out last week's episode if you were at all curious about our thoughts on that. But what's everyone been up to? How's everyone been the last couple of weeks?
A lot has been going on.
Tell us about it, Alex.
So I guess I kind of mentioned it a little bit. I filmed a movie, and it was kind of mentally exhausting because of the situation we're in right now. It was a studio, like we built the set. We literally built a living room and a kitchen, which was to basically build what we had for $1,000. It was not easy. I'm genuinely really surprised that we managed to pull it off. And my role on it was as the director of photography. So I basically got to choose how the film looked. And I am very, very excited with how it actually turned out. It was a lot of fun getting to like really play with lights that in most instances a lot of people wouldn't have access to just because of the budget. And, you know, that's one of the only bright sides about actually going to film school. So yeah, I've been very, very tired. And so I haven't really had too much of an opportunity to play games. Except for I did manage to, because of it being on Switch, I did manage to get to play Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, which that game is so good. I am absolutely loving 3D World. Bowser's Fury is awesome. It feels like a full new 3D Mario game, and I've been super digging it a lot. I love the elements during Bowser's Fury of like, it feels like you're on a timer between the next event happening, the next like Bowser being a big asshole, and so you have to like try and race through and get the shinies ready so it's like you can use them to scare off Bowser with the lighthouses. And it just, there's something just so satisfying about Mario that I don't really get from other platformers. I mean, I haven't played Sackboy yet, but honestly, Mario 3D World has made me consider getting Sackboy's Big Adventure a lot more than before.
Can I say that I think Sackboy's a better game?
Oh, interesting.
No, you can't. You're not allowed to say that.
You can say whatever you want. It doesn't make it accurate, but you can say it.
It's true.
I mean, I'd
Because you
imagine
can doesn't mean you should.
I will say, having not played Sackboy, I can imagine that Sackboy probably has better online connectivity than the Marios.
That's what I was actually going to ask about. I know, like, I've been playing this game as well. I picked it up. There was a promotion for Shoppers Drug Mart for anyone who's familiar with the Canadian pharmacy brand. Or if you spent $150, you can get $50 in points. So I got a game, my sister got a game, and I got $50 in points. So that was quite nice.
Nice.
So I've been playing a bit of the main game. I want to just play the main game before hopping into Bowser's Fury. And I know the main game has online co-op. I know Bowser's Fury is only 2-player, but is that online as well, or is that local only?
I can't confirm.
It has to be.
I would hope so, but I thought I'd ask. I can put it out into the world.
Yeah.
It feels very much. I mean, I haven't played it co-op, but the way that they're framing it really kind of feels like almost like the way Mario Odyssey was co-op, where you just have like, it's almost like the little brother character where because they play as Bowser Jr. and they just kind of float around and they can help out Mario, and they have like some things that they can do that Mario can't, but really it's not a full experience to just play as Bowser Jr. So I don't know if it's online, but like.
I actually don't think it is. I think it is. You have to do it co-op, but
okay. I'm hoping I can convince my wife to play that with me at some point, because I feel like we'd both have a lot of fun with that. Because it's Mario.
Yeah,
who doesn't have fun playing Mario other than Nathan?
Yeah. It's not a good game.
You're not a good game.
Okay. I also have Sackboy and have not yet played it. So once I've played them both, I can give the opposite opinion of Mario is better than Sackboy.
You're just a playboy. What?
I think the word you were looking for was Sony pony.
Sure.
Speaking of Sony ponies, Nathan, you've been playing God of War?
Yeah, so, well, I think we discussed it that I never beat God of War and that I thought I'd wait till it came out on I got my PlayStation 5. And then there's a lot of new stuff to play on PlayStation 5, so I never got to it. But I don't know if you guys are aware, there was a 60K, nope, that's not it, not 60K, 4K 60 FPS patch that they put through, basically putting it back to its original disc mode. And I decided to finish off the game, and I've now beaten God of War, and it is a very lovely game.
I'd like to play God of War in 60K.
Nathan,
I'd like to play anything in 60K. You kidding me?
just to know.
Think about the voxels.
You'd have to be on the other side of the planet to be able to see all those pixels, because there's just so many pixels per inch.
Yeah.
But Nathan, I'm very curious. Did it live up to the hype that people had set out for it? Because, everyone and their mother talked about how good God of War was. How did it, like you say, it's lovely, but do you think it's as good as everyone said?
Yeah, so what's our rule on spoilers for God of War at this point?
We have a spoiler mode for this podcast.
Have we all played it?
We've all played it. Let's try to
care.
stay light spoilers.
Okay. Well, I'd been very unspoiled on the ending of God of War. I'd heard somebody say the name Loki and that Atreus was Loki, and I actually expected something completely different when I got to the end because of that.
That reveal happens in a kind of much more casual manner, which I think actually helps make it feel a little bit more impactful. There's no moment where it's like, you are Loki and you will bring him down the Acer gods. The way they do it, I thought was a lot more artful.
Yeah,
I just expected he was some sort of sleeper god that was like hidden inside Atreus or something, and that he turned evil at the end based on him being Loki. So it wasn't the ending that I expected, but it was I think I just really appreciated the ending and getting to the end. And I think the whole journey, because it's really just about spreading your mother's ashes from the beginning to the end and the trials and tribulations you had to go through to get that. And I like the impact's there. There's no question about it. You get to the end. And what's beautiful is you get to the end and then you start walking down the mountain and the credits start rolling. And I was like, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It needed to be.
Yeah, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, I never thought I'd see a game do that. There's no big boss battle. There's no Well, I guess there is, but like, you know what I mean.
So this is going to be a complete tangent to God of War. But you mentioned that the game really does focus on you spreading your mother's ashes. I found the funniest TikTok I've ever seen in my entire life today. And I'm going to drop it in the chat, and I suggest everyone go and check it out later if you're watching live. If you're not, a duck knocks a jar of ashes
you sent it to me
and gets in crap.
Oh my god, so that's horrifying. Why is it a duck? Why is it a duck?
I don't know, but it's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Why is the duck in the china cabinet pushing out grandma's urn onto the floor? Why?
It's just the kind of content I needed. All right, Cozy, I think we can drop spoiler bros now.
Okay. No, it was good.
Sorry, go ahead.
I planned to platinum it, but then I thought about it, and that would be platinum 49. And I didn't think God of War, maybe I should save for platinum 50, because that seems like a much more special number. So I decided to platinum Dirt 5 instead.
Yeah, I saw you got that.
Yep, and boy, was it quite the hassle.
That sucks.
Yeah, they updated the game Monday morning, and they broke the game. So every 3 races, the game would crash and you lose the progress on the game. So I had to exit out of the game every 2 races, and then close it and reopen it so that I could continue playing. And then even when I got all the trophies and I did all the extra DLC that they had just put out, there's a trophy for driving 1,000 kilometers or 1,000 miles, and I had not driven enough miles. So then I had to rubber band a controller and use one of the creative mode courses to get my extra mileage.
I've done that a couple of times in the past for like other trophies, and every time I do it, I'm like, am I really like shortening the lifespan of my controller's thumbsticks doing this? Didn't in the past 2 cases I used it, but like I never feel comfortable doing that.
This one wasn't bad because I just had to rubber band the R2 button. Somebody created an oval that you could just fly around in and just rack up the miles without needing a joystick turned or moved. So I thought that was pretty good. But here's the deal. So it's now 1,000 miles for that trophy. But when the game launched, it was 10,000 miles.
Jesus.
It's like it's trying to be
it down to 1,000.
Yeah, seriously.
It's like it's trying to be Gears of... Seriously? Yeah, I see what you did there.
Apparently they went...
No, sorry.
Oh,
please.
Apparently, it went from like 15 to 20 hours to get almost every trophy. And then to get that final trophy, it would take an extra 150 hours of grinding and driving.
Oh, that's awful.
I have 3 talking points off of what Nathan just discussed. It's like a whirlwind of things to bring up. So first off, God of War. We know we're getting a PlayStation State of Play tomorrow, as of the recording of this. So as soon as this goes up, it's going to be out of date. But do we think we see God of War 2 delayed to 2022?
Oh, yes. I don't think they're going to mention it. I don't think they're going to mention it at all.
You think no mention? I think they mention it, and then they say they got to push it for reasons.
I think, like, we saw how well that worked for Nintendo. I don't think that they're going to be like, hey, we don't have anything to discuss about this game. Sorry.
Well, maybe they do have something, but they can still put 2022 up for it.
Yeah, maybe they can give us the title, finally.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know if you guys listened...
Direct.
I don't know if you guys listened to this week's P.S. I Love You from Kind of Funny.
Yeah.
But
just listen to it now.
They went on a bit of a tangent right at the beginning, talking about maybe, Kratos being a chicken, and could you fight Kratos the chicken?
Yes. Right. So the way that the conversation came up, originally it was could
Ratchet tank Kratos.
Right. And then they brought up, Ratchet has the ability to turn people temporarily into chickens, and that could give him a huge advantage over Kratos as a chicken. But then it's like, well, but as a chicken, is Kratos still incredibly strong? And that led down to a tangent about people turning into chickens and fighting chickens and being chickens.
Long story short, I can only now picture Kratos as that duck pushing the ashes off the shelf. So
understandably so. Okay, so that was my first of 3. My next one is a quick one, kind of off of your Dirt 5 was broken and it made it difficult to get the trophy. I got selected to be part of the MLB The Show 21 playtest which heavily can't stream it, can't share any information, can't share any content about it. So don't go looking for it, Cozy. You're not going to find it.
Sure. Can I share something else though that I did find? You
can do whatever you want, but as long as it doesn't have
okay.
Doesn't have my name in it.
So like on the subject of chickens and can you fight chickens, so this is the Shamo chicken. This is actually the chicken that the Pokemon Blaziken is based off of. It's basically like a chicken that's specifically bred for cockfighting and being real unruly and real powerful. Can I just talk over this so we can Okay, go ahead. I mean, I don't have anything else to say. I just wanted to
tell us more about this. Tell us more about this giant cock.
Nope. Yeah. I'm excited to play more of MLB and really dig into this playtest because, as we know, this is the first of the major sports titles that's going to have crossplay. So it's actually pretty big deal, as well as it's the first Sony published title that's going to come to Xbox. So very excited to dig more into that. But it was a little broken for me when I was trying to get into it yesterday. So hopefully they've cleaned things up. I'm going to try again tonight after the show. And then thirdly, on the subject of platinums, I have somehow found myself in a race to complete all of the platinum trophies in Kingdom Hearts.
That sounds terrible.
It's not going well. I'll tell you that.
Why?
Those platinums are not easy to get.
They are not easy to get. Because I wanted a reason to play these games again. And this felt like a good way to do that. But then a friend of the show, co-host of both Addictive Nerds and the Stratus Gaming podcast, Ant, decided he was going to make it into a race and is very much beating me because he's memorized these damn games, and it's not fair. But whatever. It is what it is. So my plan is to play through these games.
Do you have to platinum every single Kingdom Hearts game, like all the stupid DS ones and everything too?
My plan is to do that, yes.
So I'm pretty sure that both of the DS ones, they had trophies in the PlayStation 3 releases, but you didn't have to like actually do anything challenging to get the trophies. You just had to play through their abridged story modes. The PlayStation 4 versions of the DS games don't have any trophies attached to them. So Mitch is spared of those, but he still has a long trek ahead of him.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to doing Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories or Birth by Sleep. Neither game I think I've ever finished because they're really annoying. So, especially for the platinum trophies. We'll see how that goes.
But enough about me. Good?
I don't know. I didn't have enough time to play it before I played Kingdom Hearts 3, so I just watched the story mode.
I will say,
Birth by Sleep.
Go ahead.
Birth by Sleep kind of sounds like it could be like a Death Stranding sequel.
Totally. I will say,
really good.
There are a lot of annoying trophies that are going to require a lot of grinding and a lot of RNG in these games, Mitch. But there are also trophies like beating a lot of the kind of secret endgame bosses that are incredibly challenging, but I think are very rewarding once you're able to do so. Because it's not that their designs are cheap. They just really kind of force you to use the game's mechanics to their fullest extent. And I'm interested to see if when you get to the other side of those bosses, you're like, oh, that was really satisfying, albeit challenging, or if you really don't enjoy them.
I think the last thing I did in game was I beat the Ice Titan to get a Keyblade that is better at magic because I was doing something else that required me to be good at magic to grind out some synthesis items. And all of that sounds real engaging. So instead, let's just pivot and talk about Spider-Man because I love Spider-Man. Cozy, tell us more about Spider-Man.
Yeah, I continue to make my way through Spider-Man. I thought that by this week I would have finished the game, but unfortunately I'm still not quite there. I'm in the game's third act. Everything has gone to hell in New York City. Spider-Man's fighting a lot of adversaries. I kind of want to save my complete thoughts on the game until I finally will have completed it next week, because I don't want to speak too ahead about my thoughts on it right now. I will say, there are some plot developments that left me a little bit disappointed, but I feel like my frustrations with the plot of Spider-Man 2018 were partially offset by another piece of spider-related media that I got into recently, which is an anime called So I'm a Spider, So What? This is a anime that is currently streaming on streaming services such as ye old Crunchyroll, and it is about a girl who, as a result of a mysterious explosion, dies and is reincarnated in a fantasy world as a spider, which you just saw on screen a second ago. I don't want to give away a whole lot about this anime other than to say that it legitimately is one of the best examples in recent memory of a show that initially presents itself as way more benign and way more silly than it eventually kind of culminates in being. You start watching the show, and initially it is fully in on the ridiculousness of its premise. It is about a girl as a spider exploring a dungeon and her cracking all sorts of wisecracks and lamenting her situation. There's straight up a Spider-Man, like the superhero character reference to him early on that's pretty funny. And then slowly but surely, you begin to get the sense that not everything is right. And by the time you reach episode 7, which is where I'm currently at and where the show is currently at, it's pretty apparent that everything is going very, very super duper wrong, and you kind of want to reach through the screen and shake the main character and be like, no, turn back. But no can do, because they're all fictional. So yeah, go check out Saw the Spider, So What, if you want a cutesy fantasy anime that reveals itself to have a dark undertone that slowly becomes apparent over time.
Okay, so speaking of cutesy anime things, and I don't have a better way to segue to this, for Valentine's Day, my gift to my wife was we watched all of the To All the Boys I've Loved Before films on Netflix, and Nathan needed me to bring this up so we could talk about To All the Boys I've Loved Before on this show.
How does To All the Boys I've Loved Before compare to So on the Spider, So What?
It's better.
How do you know?
Spiders.
You've not seen this show.
It doesn't involve spider.
I mean, you saw the spider in that opening. That spider's pretty cute looking.
So I came into this series knowing it was something I was going to watch more so because I figured my wife would really like it. I really enjoyed these movies.
They're really good movies.
They're really good. They're really emotional too. You really get it. You really get invested, especially watching all three of them back to back the way we did instead of waiting a year plus between them. So I feel bad.
Had you never seen them before?
I had not seen any of them. My wife had seen both, right?
Okay.
You'd seen both, right?
I've seen all.
Well, I mean, before we watched it. Yeah. So she'd seen them. I hadn't seen any of them. So we marathoned all three for Valentine's Day. And it was a lot of fun.
I like Laura Jean.
Laura Jean's great. I'm sad this is the last movie because I feel like they could still do things with these characters, but they're not.
I didn't put it in the doc, but recently I've been watching the X-Men movies going through in release order just to maybe it's related to me watching WandaVision, maybe not. No spoilers here. Absolutely not. Totally
it could
no
be.
spoilers here.
Hold on a second. What is the moratorium on spoilers when the company who put out the content has already spoiled the thing you're trying to hide?
Some people still mute those terms and stuff, and yeah, I think we should be respectful of that unless, and if we want to have something about it, we do something separately. Where
I want to do a YYZ video special presentation WandaVision spoilers. I want it.
Why not?
We can figure.
We're gonna figure that out
in the series.
When the season's done. Yeah.
We can do a recap after the season.
So, I mean, speaking of Disney Plus, Star just launched as the 6th brand on Disney Plus in Canada and other territories, obviously.
Oh,
and
do we have to pay for
my
that?
God, there's so much content. So, what was that, Nathan?
No.
Does that add that extra?
It's not. Well, they've now raised the cost of Disney Plus from $8.99 a month to $11.99 a month.
When does that take into effect? If I've already signed up for the year.
If you've already signed up for the year, your next renewal would be $119.99 instead of $89.99.
Oh, okay, but I'm good till my next renewal.
You're good until your next renewal, yeah.
Okay, because I just renewed in November.
Yeah. You renewed on the day that it launched, just like many of us did.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
So you're good until the next renewal cycle. But guys, there's so much content in there. Dragon Ball Evolution is in there.
Oh man, the best.
What's Dragon Ball
movies?
It's really
that's the live action Dragon Ball movie that they tried to make. Or Piccolo glitters like a Twilight vampire or some shit. I don't know.
Yep.
I've heard good things about that one.
I will say,
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie.
you know, there have been a lot of bad movies over the years, but Dragon Ball Evolution is one of those ones that I feel has kind of fallen through the cracks. Like, you don't have like a contingency of people that like enjoy it ironically or kind of love to bash it online in the way that people like to, you know, bash or make fun of like the Avatar movie, for example.
Oh, that reminds me. Thankfully, we have friend of the show, host of the Geek Centric podcast, Nate, in the chat. I'm actually going to be a guest on their WandaVision spoiler cast season finale episode when that comes out. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, he never invites me on any podcasts. Lame Nathan. He just doesn't want two Nathans on there.
That's too
much
many
competition. Too much competition.
Listen, if
I
we
get
can
it.
have 3 Alexes, he can have two Nathans.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So is there any, like, have you guys gotten a chance to dig around through the Star catalog at all?
Yes.
I'm looking at it right now.
I've been watching
No.
Futurama.
Futurama's a good one.
That's all.
I started Family Guy. Guy's a good
I mean,
one.
the first 2 seasons of Family Guy are definitely worth
I started with
watching
Blue
again.
Harvest. So
I watched Aliens on there last night. That was weird.
which
Die
that's
Hard's
the-
on it, right?
all of the Die Hards are on it. Yep.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about the newest one.
We don't talk
Is
about
that Die Hard with
I-
a Vengeance?
Honestly,
There are so many Die Hard movies. I'm like, I don't even know which one that is when you said it.
Live Free or Die Hard is the one I was referring to. I think.
Got it.
Die Hard or
The
Trying?
one with
Was that
the one with Jai Courtney playing his son. I think. I don't know. It was terrible. I saw that on Valentine's Day with a friend of mine from school back when that came out.
I was
You
about
should
to say,
consider Die Hard in review.
We
I was
could.
about to-
It's on Disney Plus now. Why not? I was gonna say this new Star catalog does give us a lot more to pull from in terms of doing reviews for YYZ Video. Do Aliens in review, Predator in review, or Alien versus Predator in review.
To Catch
any
a Predator
combination.
in review.
Oh my God, Scrubs is on here.
Scrubs is on there. Yep.
It's insane.
Dude,
Honestly, this is
something that upset me
solidified-
though. Bob's Burgers on there, but only seasons 9 and 10.
Yeah, that's,
Oh, that's
strange.
weird. Netflix says
It's got to be a
sometimes, too.
licensing issue. It's got to be
Yeah.
a licensing issue.
To me, this is solidified. Disney Plus is the best streaming service. Like,
Absolutely.
period now. Like, I was on the fence about that because I don't really care too much about like the Disney backlog as much. But the fact that they've added a whole ton of stuff like this, that like I'm all in. I'm probably at this point never going to cancel my Disney Plus.
I don't think I legally can because
Yeah.
one, we host a Pixar podcast, and two,
Legally, you can still do it.
nah,
You just would
never
be
gonna
guessing about the movies.
Well, I mean, the second thing too is my next year of Disney Plus is free. I won a contest via Electric Playground where I got 2 WandaVision pops and a year of Disney Plus. So it's never going to stop. It's also my most used streaming service by a large margin. So
Yeah, me too.
it's so good. But yeah, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers a movie, Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, tons of great stuff in there. But there's also tons of great stuff added to Control Ultimate Edition.
Yeah. It was free with the it was free on PlayStation Plus. I think
Right.
it still is free.
It
as of
is
right now.
until next week, I think.
Yeah. So I haven't played too much into it because I played Control last year, like right at the beginning of the year. I got it on PS4, and it was rough on my PS4 Pro. Like it first off, it was really pushing the hardware as far as it could go. And one of the biggest complaints that I had about it was the like loading times, loading between, especially like because I did Platinum Control. It's one of the few Platinums I actually do have, and loading between the different areas, like fast traveling between them, was excruciating. And Control Ultimate Edition is awesome. It's Control still, but it's first off, it runs its. I'm playing it on the performance mode, and playing that game at 60 with still all of the particle effects happening, and it like being able to pull like. I've right now just gotten to the point where you get the telekinesis ability, where you can pull like things, like pull just big pieces of concrete out of the wall, and all the particles and everything with that. It's awesome playing that on PS5. I will say I'm starting to not really like. It has DualSense support with it, with the triggers where you have to like pull down on the trigger and it gives you resistance when firing. And I'm starting to really dislike that a lot because of just like, this is an action you are going to do hundreds of times throughout the course of playing this game, and it like, just the amount of time that you're doing it, it starts to get exhausting. So fortunately, there is a slider that you can choose between, like a slider from 1 to 10 of how bad you want the resistance. So I have it on 1 right now because it's like, it's nice that it's there, but it maxed out. The default was way too much for me. But besides that, like, it's really cool. I think this is, I mean, I can't wait to play the Alan Wake stuff, like, in it, the AWE expansion for it. I'm really excited about how they tie those two universes together. I also do think that this is like, in some ways I thought that this was a really fun slap in the face that Sony had to Microsoft, because Control came to Game Pass a few months ago, but it's just the standard edition to Control. And so the fact that they're like, Control Ultimate Edition, as like the day that the PS5 and Xbox Series X update came, was free on PlayStation Plus, which I think is awesome. So I'm gonna very slowly get through that game again, because it's awesome, but I've got a couple of other games that I want to get to first, because I, am playing them for the first time, and that's kind of a little bit more important. But if you haven't played Control Ultimate, or just Control in general, it was one of my favorite games from 2019. Like, it was like a sharp 3-way tie between that, Sekiro, and Death Stranding. So it's like, I think it is one of the best games of the last generation, and it's actually been given justice being on PS5.
So I know Nathan and I got into a bit of a Twitter exchange today about March's PlayStation Plus titles, and I just saw what is either a very good fake or
I saw that too.
You saw that, eh? So if those, I'm not going to say it because I feel like I don't want to date this show based on, there being a fake leak of the PS. Okay, so fine.
Yeah, I'm curious.
The leak, the fake that I saw was Overpass for the PS4, Godfall for PS5, and Kenna Bridge of Spirits, which I think would be it's a game I was going to buy. So that would blow my freaking mind if they showed that throughout State of Play.
I feel like that's I don't know if that would be true, just because to include both Godfall and Kenna, I feel like that's overkill. I feel like if
not to mention
one or the other. Go ahead, Nathan.
Godfall's still kind of new.
Yeah.
Like, people paid for that like 4 or 5 months ago.
But did it how well did it do? It didn't do
not well.
Yeah.
It did not review well.
Yeah.
It was mediocre. It got a lot of 7s.
And it has like microtransactions in it, right? I'm pretty sure. So they might be trying to kind of like, if they try get it in front of more people to try and recoup some of that cost by, like, if you get it to people's hands for free, it will make them a little bit more likely to pay for microtransactions. Yeah,
I think one of the things I predicted us seeing tomorrow at the State of Play was Kenna. So that would line up with this, but I don't see them giving that game away at launch. I think they've been very generous the last few months with PS Plus, and I think we're going to see more of a return to form, as it were, for next month.
Except
speaking of, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but just on that topic, how long did we get PlayStation 4 games for free when PlayStation Plus launched? Like brand new, I mean. Because I feel like
they're few and far between.
Yeah, I just wonder, maybe they have to keep doing that for a little while till there's a better back catalog to pull games from.
I mean, something like Kenna that was smaller and debuted at a PlayStation State of Play does line up with things they've done in the past for stuff, but it remains to be seen. Speaking about things from the past, AJ, you've been playing the original Legend of Zelda?
I have, actually. For a little bit there. I streamed some of it on Twitch and whatnot. But I had a bit of an interesting twist to the way I was doing it. So I have never beaten the original Legend of Zelda. I know, big shame. But
none of us
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I can see all the parts in there that, they've carried forward and made it really good and interesting and modernized, as iterations went on. But there is something about old NES games that I don't know how anybody got through these without like looking up a guide. The thing that the interesting twist that I did is, so what I saw on Twitter that there, I forget the guy's name, but if you just Google hand-drawn game guides, you can find like there's a handful of guides that this person has made, and they it's so beautifully hand drawn and everything, but it also doesn't fully like spell out, go from, go 3 screens over and do that. No, it writes it out like a journal or like a story or something like that. It's really, really fascinating to kind of see all the artwork through. And like behind me, you can see here, this is the cover art for it. And it's you could, I don't know if you can get the physical copy anymore, but for the 35th anniversary day, which was the 21st, they gave, they just had, hey, they put it up on their Gumroad store for free for like the 24 hours or whatever. So I grabbed that, and then, what I would do is on my stream, I would switch back and forth to like, here's what I'm reading in the guide, and okay, go back and let's go try and do it. But yeah, like I said, the interesting thing about it was it's written kind of like a story where, Link traveled, around these parts, and was experimenting with his with the candle that he found and burnt down a tree, and there was a heart piece under it, and it'll show like a map of like what tree specifically he burned down, and but it's really neat. It's really, really cool, and I'm appreciating the hand-drawn nature of it. I'm not necessarily appreciating the difficulty of the game itself. I really like it, even though I've played through like the first couple of dungeons a handful of times and whatever. I don't know if it's an issue with the Switch. So I'm playing the one that came with the Nintendo Switch Online stuff. I don't know if it's necessarily a problem with that I'm having, or whatnot. But from when I played it before, like as a kid, I remember it controlling a lot better than it does now. That could just be the Switch, like the port of it there. I got to the 5th dungeon, and this is the one where there's a room full of dark nuts, which is a funny mistranslated word that just stuck when they were translating the game to English, I guess.
Yeah, because in Japanese it's like dark nato, because that's how you say dark night, but the people translating it didn't really think, it should actually be dark night in English.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like a night. We'll call it a nut.
It's pretty close.
Yeah,
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but yeah, and I was struggling at one point with some other enemies and stuff, but watching some YouTube videos of people actually playing through it and trying to do the dark nut stuff, it's kind of ridiculous how they didn't quite balance the progression of difficulty. It's not like you're getting these more powerful items, but you don't feel any stronger whatsoever, and in some instances you feel even weaker. And the only thing keeping you afloat is the fact that you've gone through and gotten all the different heart containers along the way. So,
do you know if there exists a version of this hand-drawn video game guide for the original Metroid? Because on the subject of like obtuse ass NES games, like if you think the original Legend of Zelda is bad, the original Metroid is like a nightmare. Because one thing about the original Legend of Zelda is at least all of the various screens that you traveled through on the map feel fairly distinct from one another. Like the screen that you're currently in right now feels fairly distinct from the screen that you're about to go down to, and so on and so forth. There are multiple areas in the original Metroid that are literally like copy and pasted, which makes trying to find your way in the game next to impossible if you don't have like a guide.
Yeah.
Looks like there's only three of them.
Yeah, there's only 3 of them right now: Ninja Gaiden, Contra, and Zelda. I'm not sure if this person's got more coming soon, but yeah. Oh, coming soon, Metroid. Yeah, it says right there at the top.
There we go.
The webpage.
Legitimately, I might give Metroid another shot if I get my hands on that guide, because it's one of those things where, again, like, I've not beaten that one either. I've made valiant attempts to try it, but it just has not worked out. So I'll definitely keep an eye out for that one.
Do you think Nintendo will do anything for Metroid's 35th anniversary?
No.
Good joke.
What is the big deal with 35? 35 doesn't feel like a round enough number to make a big deal out of. 10,
it's 10
sure,
years after 25.
Yeah. 50 for sure. But 35, to me, it feels like people just looking for them to celebrate a thing because they want more of that thing, and they weren't necessarily ready to give us more of that thing.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying,
they did a celebration for Mario. They should do a celebration for their other big franchises. Now, you could argue that because Metroid didn't do well in Japan necessarily, but it did well here in the Americas. You could argue that it's not a priority for them. But I would say technically behind Mario, Zelda would be number 2 worldwide in terms of Nintendo franchises. Mainline Nintendo. Pokemon doesn't count because that is Game Freak. That's Game Freak. That's something.
No, Game Freak is the developer. The IP is co-owned by Nintendo and the Pokemon Company.
That's
makes
great.
It a Nintendo first-party title.
Developed shit. I'm talking Nintendo developed.
Pokemon, goddammit.
Nope.
Yeah.
They just publish it.
I do want to say that while I don't think that it is going to be utterly fantastic, we will get some form of Metroid news this year. We won't reflect on it and be like, oh man, Nintendo really treated Metroid well for its 35th anniversary, but it's been long enough at this point, ever since the restart of Metroid Prime 4's development, that we'll have to get at least some piece of news.
Here's my prediction for that. Here's my prediction for that. The game director will come out on screen and say, "Hi, you're seeing me here. I bet you're expecting that
that's
me to talk about the upcoming Metroid Prime 4." Unfortunately, I have nothing more to say. Here's Metroid Other M remastered.
Well, but no, more realistically, he'll probably announce the remasters of the Prime trilogy, which at the very least is still better than Skyward Sword. I'll say that much.
No, it's definitely going to be Other M.
All we're going to get is a port of the Wii U Metroid Prime trilogy collection.
Wait, the Wii U?
Or the Wii.
The Wii, right.
It was on the Wii U via Virtual Console, but that's all we're going to get. I just wanted to say, back to the thing about why they wouldn't make a big deal at Metro, but they do it at Mario. Mario is literally the best-selling games franchise, if you look at all the games ever for Nintendo. So it makes sense for them to focus on their best-selling property as opposed to Metroid, which is not.
But they ain't even talking about Pokemon, which you argue is number 2. So, like,
they're doing a concert with Post Malone on Saturday. That's talking about it. Goddammit.
Who is that? Who even is that?
Post Malone? He's the dude with all the face tattoos. I don't know. We're going to talk about Pokemon more in a bit. All right, quickly, we have a couple more things that people want to talk about. Alex or AJ, do you have a quick, blurb about either of the games still here, Persona 5 Strikers or Valheim, or do we want to hold it until you got more to say?
I got a little bit that I can say. I haven't played much of Persona Strikers, but oh man, it's good to be back. That's the biggest takeaway I've got so far. I'm about 2 hours into it, and it's really nice to reconnect with all of these characters. One of the things I really like so far, and it's like they've hit the ground running with it, is that it's the full crew dynamic. It's all 8 of them, I believe. Like it's everyone who joined the Phantom Thieves by the end of Persona 5. They're all back together, and they're all just kind of really doing their like character traits, like all of their character moments. Like Yusuke he loves art and he has no money. It's like
I'm looking.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the video Cozy's posting. Is that the guy from Smash?
Yes.
Okay.
He formerly known from Smash.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's like, it's so much fun to be back in that world, and it really does feel like a great addition to Persona 5. Like, it doesn't feel like it's like shoehorning in. Though, like, obviously, the biggest thing that I also have been taking away is that when I played Age of Calamity, it felt like a Muso that had Zelda on top of it, where this feels like Persona first that has Muso like as the like combat elements, which I think is like, there's a huge difference between that, and I think that they so far have been implementing all of the Persona stuff, the stuff that made Persona 5 so special. I think they've been doing a really good job at implementing that so far, and I just can't wait to play more. I think the combat's great, and they did a really good job of kind of like taking some of that stuff that made the Persona 5 gameplay loop when you're in the palaces. They made that really engaging to add to this more action RPG. And so I'll have more to say as I continue playing it, but I can't wait to play more of it. I have thought about buying it on Switch just so I could go play it while I'm at work, but I'm not going to do that because that's crazy. But goddamn, I just want to play more of this game.
Without getting into spoilers, are you at all disappointed by the fact that it's not a direct sequel to Persona 5 Royal?
Yes, because I love those characters, specifically the 3 characters who they kind of like
integrate.
One of them was in Persona 5 normally, but they kind of like changed a lot of.
They fixed him.
Yeah, they fixed him. And then the other 2 were like new characters, and I am sad that Kasumi is not there. I think she was such a great addition to Persona and that crew that like it would have been cool to have like a full game with her in it instead of kind of like her being mostly in like the last act of Royal. Like she's in some of the other parts of it, but like she really didn't come into like the story until very much close to the end of the game. As well. So yes, I would love it if it was a proper direct sequel to Persona 5 Royal instead of Persona 5. But I also understand that just wasn't possible because this went into development right after they made Persona 5 and then they started working on Royal afterwards. So I just knew that wasn't going to be possible. Also,
I feel like they could have put in nods.
Yeah, and I don't know if there aren't yet. I will get back to you as soon as I get further in. Final note about it: the music's super good. There's a few remixes, and like there's like a rock version of Last Surprise, and I'm really digging it so far. It feels like in every way it is an extension of Persona 5 in the best possible way, and also playing it on PS5. It's so cool to see Persona running at 60 frames. It looks incredible. So as soon as you get a chance, Nathan, like as soon as it goes on sale, definitely pick it up.
Yeah, I'll give it a chance when it's on sale, because Musos have never typically been my thing. But I do love the story. I'm still waiting, and I don't know when we're going to get it, but I feel like it has to happen. Persona 5 karting.
There was a kart racer in the
Persona universe.
Persona game. Hold on a second.
While he looks that up, AJ, quick words on Valheim.
Yeah, Valheim seems like really good because everybody's playing it at the moment. But also, I think we need to coordinate a time where we can kind of get together and play some of this together. 2 or 3 of us, because I think that's probably the way it's meant to be played. I've been playing it solo. I got to the first I'll call it boss encounter, and that was super cool, super fun. The crafting is good. I think it looks it's the look of it is like a mix between a PS1 game in terms of like the textures, but also part of it is kind of reminiscent of like a World of Warcraft in terms of just in terms of it's not isometric in the kind of like if the textures are look like PS1, the model the character models and stuff look World of Warcraft, and some of the environments, the open environments. And so at the start of it, there's a bird that is basically the tutorial bird. And what the tutorial bird does is, he just tells you, hey, here's this. Oh, the stuff you just picked up. Here's what you can do with it. That sort of thing, right? And there's the very distinct kind of World of Warcraft exclamation mark, like, oh, I have a quest for you, exclamation mark above his head when he wants to talk to you and tutorialize you. So you can very easily see some of those inspirations, but it is super, super rad. And I think we need to plan a time at some point where we can get together and play it. So
sounds like a plan. All right. I think unless Cozy wants to talk about Persona 5 karting.
Yeah, so it's not called Persona 5 karting. It's actually called Persona 4 Racing. So it's not a real game. It's a fan-made game that came out a couple years back. It exists, and that's all I really have to say. So now, if you've ever wondered, hey, when is the Persona 5 Racing game going to come out? Well, now you can know that it already came out.
Raced it all afternoon. This is amazing.
And on that note, I think we can stop talking about Persona and start talking about a better RPG.
How dare
that's a lie. That's not true at all.
That is
How do we kick
true.
Mitch from the chat?
This is my episode. No,
for the record, Mitch, like the Persona series is based off of the kind of Shin Megami Tensei universe, and the Shin Megami Tensei universe had like collecting and raising monsters before Pokemon was officially conceived.
Yep.
Pokemon best RPG. No, okay, let's talk about Pokemon. With Pokemon Day coming up this weekend and a wonderful Post Malone concert to look forward to, and that seems to be about it. Did you say yay? You gonna watch the Post Malone concert with me? All right, cool. We thought it'd be timely to bring back an old segment, but give it a new coat of paint. You may or may not be familiar with the fact we used to have a segment on this show called Video Game Rehab, where we would take a series that was in need of rehab and talk about what we think we do to, modernize or bring back a game.
Rehabilitate it, if you will.
Rehabilitate it. Yes, thank you. But we kind of wanted to expand that a bit so we could talk about things that we just want to make better or things that we have thoughts about. And one of those things is Pokemon. So we're going to call this Patch Notes. So on our inaugural edition of Patch Notes, what better series to look at than Pokemon?
Oh, can I start with a patch note?
I was going to go through a bit of the history of the series and then yes.
Oh, well, my patch note is play Persona instead because it's better.
Okay, so Pokemon.
It doesn't have to be a game about things being better. Come on, guys.
I mean,
do I have to fit Nathan's audio into the final edit of the podcast?
You don't have to. You could accidentally lose it.
Yeah, that'd be a damn shame.
This would not make sense if you took my audio out.
I'd find a way.
Pokemon is a franchise created in the mid-90s centering on fictional creatures called pocket monsters or Pokemon. The franchise began all the way back on the Game Boy with Pokemon Red and Green in Japan, later released as Red and Blue in the Americas. Developed by Game Freak, published by Nintendo in 1996. It became a mixed media franchise with the release of an anime, movies, a card game, any number of other weird gizmos and gadgets, and has since become the highest grossing media franchise of all time. The original video game is the second best selling franchise ever, which I didn't know. That's crazy. With more than 368 million copies sold and 1 billion mobile downloads. That likely being pushed by Pokemon Go, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit. We've got a successful anime with over 20 seasons, 1,000 episodes. It's aired in over 160 countries. You've had this property show up in other games like Super Smash Brothers. You've had spin-off games like Pokemon Go, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and most recently we got Pokemon Sword and Shield released in November 2019. And here we are. We are at year 25 of Pokemon as a franchise in 2021. And first off, we got Nathan's one patch note, which was a dig at me, which is fine.
It wasn't a dig at you, it was a dig at Pokemon.
Okay. A very good article was written and released today by a former guest of the show, Taylor Lyles at The Verge, on why. And actually, let me grab that for you, Cozy, because I think it's really, really good to talk about right now in the context of Pokemon. It makes a very intimidating genre approachable. And I feel this more than most, because for me personally, with Pokemon as a franchise, or with RPGs in general, there's always been this barrier to entry for me. I've never really sunk my teeth into any of these bigger, girthier RPGs.
Yeah.
Like your traditional Final Fantasies and other games like that. And we actually talked earlier about Digimon as an RPG franchise. I think Pokemon's approach to RPGs, where it is very, very simple on the surface, but adds a lot of depth if you want to look for it. And adds a very approachable progression system. So I do like the fact of, in all of the games, except I'm not sure about the GameCube games. I think Nathan or Cozy might be able to correct me if you've played them, or AJ.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing Alex hasn't, by how not looking at the show he is.
I'm helping. I'm here, guys.
You're helping.
Hell yeah.
I don't know how the progression in those games is like, but I know at least for the core Pokemon games, you always have this challenge you have to complete, whether it be the gym challenge, or in Alola, we got the island challenge, which I thought was a nice departure for the series, but still gave you that nice checkpointing as to how the game's progressed and how you move forward and that sort of thing. And it's something I'm experiencing now playing through Pokemon Radical Red, which is a mod of Pokemon Fire Red that makes the game uber difficult, which has been a lot of fun. But I can see some of the drawbacks that people do bring up from time to time. So I think I'll open the floor now. And what do we feel needs patched in the Pokemon franchise?
So I think that, when we talk about what needs to be patched in the Pokemon franchise in the future, I think we need to bring up the fact that, the Pokemon Series 25th anniversary is imminent, and many are predicting / it's almost all but confirmed that we're going to be getting some new Pokemon game announcements over the next few days. And while we don't know exactly what these Pokemon games will be, many of us are predicting that most likely it's going to be, one of them will be like another mainline installment in the series. And many are predicting on top of that this next mainline installment in the series might be a remake of the Diamond and Pearl games. And if it is indeed that, most likely it's going to feature a 3D art style like the past few Pokemon games before it. And I feel like the jump to 3D for the series has been both a blessing and a curse all at once. On one hand, being able to explore the world of Pokemon with full three-dimensional visuals has, brought a lot more depth to the experience. It's made the world feel that much more alive. It's added a lot more personality and character to the monsters and to all of the human characters that inhabit it. But on the other hand, the jump to 3D has also made it so that creating these worlds is so much more kind of expensive and time consuming than before. To this day, many people still swear by Gold and Silver and the remakes, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, as being one of their favorite Pokemon games in the series. And that's in large part because when you beat those games, you were given the option to go and entirely explore the Kanto region, which is the region from the first Pokemon games, Red and Blue, as like a giant, supermassive post-game quest. And the reason why the Pokemon Company Game Freak was able to pull that off back in the day is not because they were like that much more motivated back in the day or because they've grown lazy in their old age, but because it was just like that much easier to do so at a time where everything was based on these very kind of like basic and easily kind of replicatable sprites. Nowadays, like people desperately want the current Pokemon games to feature some like giant, massive heaping post game where you go and explore an entire other Pokemon region when you beat the main quest. But like that's just not exactly feasible. At least not feasible given the size of company that Game Freak is and the rate at which they put out games. And
AJ, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, in the original Gold and Silver, the biggest reason why it's actually there is I think Satoru Iwata came in at the 11th hour and was able to make it work with some very creative compressing and coding and all that.
It wasn't even that. It was that they were struggling just to get Johto on the cartridge. And he was able to optimize it so much they had room for the entirety of the first region in that cart, which was the story behind that.
Amazing.
Yeah, obviously an amazing feat on his part. Like, it deserves a tremendous amount of praise for being able to do so. But it's the kind of thing where it's like, ultimately, like they were. I think that like Iwata or not, like what needs to be understood there is that like because those games were relatively simple, they were able to get all that stuff to work in the first place. And yeah, like I just said, the kind of jump to 3D, I think, has messed with that and resulted in regions like the Galar region in Sword and Shield that, you know, feature some pretty robust areas like the wild area where it's very expansive and you can see Pokemon like interacting with each other in real time. But the rest of the region feels a little bit small and is sort of lacking in optional side areas because creating something so small is like, oh, here's like a secret cave, which were like super commonplace in some of the older Pokemon games, is just that much more kind of expensive to create in the modern era.
I think so. We're just, you know, we're recording this on the 24th of February, where like in the evening. I think if we were getting a Pokemon specific presentation or anything this week other than the Post Malone concert and them talking about Pokemon music, we probably already know about it. So I actually am the contrarian here and saying I don't think we're going to get any additional Pokemon announcements outside of whatever they talk about at this concert this week. And off of that, I wanted to kind of just go around the room and see, does anyone else have any predictions for what we may or may not see this week outside of Cozy's astute opinion that this year's game will likely be a Gen 4 remake? Alex? Or Nathan?
Yeah,
or
Nathan
AJ? Or
let Nathan go
anybody?
Go ahead, Nathan.
Can we get Pokemon Sleep?
Yeah, where is that?
Will we hear about that?
I've actually struggled in my sleeping as of recent, and I actually would appreciate getting that game. Like, actually, like not as a joke.
I mean, non-jokingly, I think the next gen consoles may or may not be to blame a bit for this. And graphics cards and just electronics in general. We know there is currently a global shortage on microprocessors and semiconductors. And I think that has probably driven the production of the Pokemon or Pokeball Plus Plus or whatever the dumb accessor they announced for Pokemon Sleep was.
That's what it is.
To be further and further delayed. And I don't think COVID helped at all with that either from a manufacturing perspective. So I don't think we'll see this anytime soon.
Oh,
all right.
My
2 cents.
My biggest thing that I actually do expect us to see is more of a bit of a deep dive into the new Pokemon Snap. I think it's probably very likely because that game comes out in April, so they probably have stuff that they can show for it. Because I did just a quick Google search. There's not much for it. There was the trailer that came out a month ago, and then the original reveal trailer 8 months ago. So there's nothing really about Pokemon Snap. So I could see that being there as well. Did they ever release or show anything of that Detective Pikachu game that they were going to bring to the Switch?
Nope.
No, I forgot about that.
I could see.
Oh yeah, that is supposed to go.
I could see that being a thing. I could see maybe some, because they've announced as well. Didn't they announce a sequel to Detective Pikachu the movie as well? Or am I thinking?
I think
it's
they announced
being worked on.
It's
a second part of the game.
I think.
Okay, we could get some updates about that, but probably nothing like concrete. But things like that don't require anything more than they've already got ready at this point.
My prediction with regards to the Pokemon Detective Pikachu video game remaster is that the process of remastering that has probably proven pretty challenging for whoever's remastering it to do so. We've heard over the years that people, for example, have demanded that Masahiro Sakurai greenlight a remake of Kid Icarus Uprising for the Switch, and he's been like, hey, I'd love to do so too, but that would be way more expensive of a project than you're anticipating. Updating and uprising it for the Switch would require quite a bit of time and effort, and I'd imagine that whoever's doing the Detective Pikachu thing is probably going through the same thing right now, which is why we've heard it's been a while since we've heard from it. I do think it will materialize. It's not vaporware, but yeah, I think that project's a bigger undertaking than I think any of us initially thought it would be.
I have one thing I think we do see this week, or the one thing I want more than anything out of that concert on Saturday is they also mentioned something about stay tuned after the show for more announcements on P25 music, so Pokemon 25th anniversary music. We already know there's going to be some sort of collaboration with Katy Perry. Game Freak has released albums on the iTunes store for all of these games. Put these albums into Spotify and Apple Music already. I need
YouTube Music. YouTube Music.
That too. But I need it. Please. Please, Game Freak. You're listening to me directly right now. Please. I need it. AJ, what do you got?
In terms of predictions for this, honestly, I have no... I think I'm with you in that we get very minimal additional information, personally.
I think a Pokemon Direct or a Pokemon style presentation or direct style presentation for Pokemon makes sense closer to the release of new Pokemon Snap, where they advertise it as, hey, it's a deeper dive into this and some other stuff. So we get a lot of Snap. We probably get a release date for Pokemon Unite, because we know that beta is coming to Canada exclusively on Android soonish. We know MOBA? That's the MOBA. It's coming to Android, iOS, and Nintendo Switch. So I could see this getting a summer release date on that. And then the one more thing being a logo for whatever this year's mainline title is. And hopefully, the current global pandemic we're facing doesn't have an impact on my sweet, sweet Pokemon, and we do get it this year. But we're not here to just talk about all the great stuff coming from Pokemon. We're also here to try to figure out ways to overall...
We're here to patch it.
We're here to patch it. We're here to figure out ways that we can improve this series. Cozy's already presented a couple, so I just kind of want to go around the room as well, and Cozy as well, and just kind of have more of a roundtable discussion on what we feel could be improved in the Pokemon franchise while still maintaining that core, approachable, easy to pick up and play RPG style game that we've come to love over the last 25 years. Anybody? Open floor. Go. Don't everyone speak at once.
Let's let Alex go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, go Alex.
As the person who's probably played the least amount of Pokemon on this Discord call, I've played Diamond, Platinum, and Y or X.
You got more than me.
Okay.
You haven't played Sword and Shield?
Nope. Because
I'm blue
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm blue and Sword. Those are the only two I've played.
Oh, okay, so I have one on top of you. My biggest thing is you have one of the biggest franchises in the world, and when the Switch came out, we got a Mario game and a Zelda game that really took advantage of being on this powerful handheld, this more powerful console than any previous iteration of the games had before. And Pokemon Sword and Shield, this was the first time that a Pokemon, a direct Pokemon game, was going to be on a console.
Don't forget, we also got Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee the year prior. Yeah, and we've had Colosseum and XD Gale of Darkness as RPGs on home console.
I mean traditional Pokemon where you're the trainer and you're going through the open world. And with Zelda Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, we got this huge scale of what is possible for these franchises. And I just don't feel like they delivered on that with Pokemon. It felt like this could have been on the 3DS. Like, it doesn't feel like as big of a push that it could have been. And my biggest thing is, you have the big... I looked it up before we started doing this. Game Freak only has 143 employees. That's very small in comparison to the scale of what Pokemon actually is. And like, I know that they like want to do like quick turnarounds and stuff, but like, I don't know if I feel like Game Freak could go into a similar route like Assassin's Creed has as of recently, where they make like because you know Ubisoft notoriously has thousands of people working on Assassin's Creed. I don't know if they need to go that big, but like they could scale up what Pokemon actually means, and they can still like I still think something like Mario Odyssey was still accessible to people who have never played that franchise before. I just feel like something like Persona 5 really showed what turn-based combat can, how you can make turn-based combat engaging, how you can do like something like as well South Park Stick of Truth. Like I think like those games really show that like turn-based combat can be engaging beyond what it already is. And I just feel like Pokemon didn't really make that type of jump in both production quality and just like that I think it could, that I think it very easily could because of just how big that franchise is. It's not like they are scraping for funds to be able to scale it up. And that's what I would want. That's the reason why I wasn't really super engaged with Sword and Shield, why I never bought it, was because it just looked like more of the same. And that didn't really do anything for me because I wasn't already invested in the franchise beforehand.
Yeah, I think something that was brought up, I actually put this question out to our Discord over invite.gg/Press YYZ if you want to hang out with us. Sal over there brought up a great point of giving the models more life and more character, because even looking back at the GameCube and N64 games, those models have a lot more character than what we've got on the Switch. I think part of that is can definitely be attributed to just the sheer number of Pokemon we have now. There are 898 unique models they have to animate for these individual games. And I think that's led to some of this attrition in terms of the, giving everything their own unique attributes and characteristics. How many Persona are there?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Not nearly.
It varies from game to game.
Yeah.
Persona 5. Base Persona 5. How many Persona were there in the game?
200?
200. So you're looking at a scale of
192.
So roughly 200. So you're looking at 4 times as many models to render, and the team at Atlas it's probably as big or bigger than the Pokemon team, I would assume.
I will
It's going to be close to it because you'd have to look specifically for the Persona team. The number of employees at Atlas, because they work on a ton of different stuff, so it's hard to probably pinpoint that. I don't think the Persona team's that big.
So I did just a very quick Google search, and it says the staff consisted. So it seems it started with 40 people and then expanded to 70.
Okay, so about half.
Yeah.
But we also know that Game Freak works in multiple teams because they are usually working on games simultaneously, right? So
is that the problem?
So I don't know if that's a problem. I think we're going to see a change in the way Game Freak is putting out these titles, because the introduction of DLC, finally, for the first time ever in Sword and Shield, has given them an extra year to have a smaller team work on content for the DLC and have the core team work on whatever the next thing is. So hopefully that helps. But we'll have to wait and see, I think. But yeah, I think Sal had a great point there over in the Discord of just more character to these models, these animations. It's very 2D for a 3D title, which doesn't really work in today's day and age.
Definitely, I just want to add on to all that we just said. What definitely didn't help matters is that Pokemon stayed in the realm of 2D for a very, very long time. Even as late as like 2011 with Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, like those games, still featured some 3D elements, some 3D models, but it was still largely like a 2D experience. And what that has meant is that the Pokemon creators have always been kind of a little bit behind everyone else, and the, you know, as we talked about, relatively small size of their company compared to some of the other big name video game developers out there has meant that they haven't had the resources to get them up to speed as quickly.
Yeah, that could definitely be an attributing factor to all of this. But who's got other ideas of how we could patch the Pokemon franchise? Nathan?
I'll go. You're letting me go.
You go.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting.
So as you know, listen, I absolutely love Pokemon just in general. You know, I've got problems with you know, some of the monster designs, as you know, as I've grown up and I've looked back on even like a couple of Gen 1 and Gen 2 stuff, which is really where my allegiance lies in terms of my favorites. You know, some of the design in terms of like if your inanimate object isn't a ghost type, then I can't kind of get behind it. And even still, it's a little, you're pushing it a little too much, like the bounds of what's the word? You're kind of pushing the bounds on what is allowably realistic, and my suspension of disbelief that Pokemon aren't real or whatever, when suddenly a sarcophagus has these wiggly arms and is a Pokemon that lays eggs. You know, it kind of gets hard to follow that sort of thing. When a trash bag comes to life, or ice cream cones suddenly become 2 ice cream cones. Why? I don't.
I mean, those are all from Gen 5, though.
Yeah, I know. I'm not like trying to counteract your legitimate qualms, but like, how do you feel like since Gen 5 the Pokemon series has gone in terms of their monster designs? Like, do you feel like it's remained kind of consistently on that level of mediocrity, or do you think that it's improved, not improved? I think probably around. It probably, like, they probably hit the ramp in Gen 3 and jumped the shark by Gen 5. In term, you know, that's the best metaphor I can come up with. In terms of my dissatisfaction with the new designs of the different monsters. Looking back, like I said earlier, I think in Gen 1, things like Magnemite and Magneton are kind of are actually, and Voltorb and Electrode and whatnot are Pokemon that I just as a kid I could use my imagination, right? And yes, these are kids games, I understand that, but you know, I still grew up with these, and kind of they're important to me. But I kind of hold that, like a Magnemite and a Magneton, in the same realm as now that I do with like the trash bag or whatever. Gen 2, it was, you know, the unknown quest or you know, whatever, in the ancient ruins. It was interesting because it felt cool as a kid to decrypt the alphabet. But then now as a grown-up, it's just like, why are these creatures shaped like the alphabet, right? And it just, as I get older and my imagination gets worse, I guess, it's harder for me to suspend my disbelief in regards to that. The other aspect of Pokemon that I think kind of needs a bit of a revamp is the battle system, in a way. Like, it's fine, you get to choose your 4 attacks and everything. While me personally would like something that controls a little more, like, okay, so imagine you're running around this open world, and you know, you look at a trainer in the eyes, and suddenly you have to fight, and this arena opens up, and suddenly you're playing a Pokken tournament, but with any one of the 900 Pokemon, right? Gets a little weird when you throw something like a Wailord in there against a Pichu, but you know that, you know, and in those areas, that's kind of why that wouldn't work. What's up, Mitch?
Name me one fighting game that has 900 playable characters, and then I'll tell you that's a reasonable suggestion.
Exactly, right. And that's kind of my pie in the sky like dream of what I would want from it. And if I were to temper that down, it would be, okay, well, if we can't do a fighting game like that, why don't we just make it Smash Brothers? You've already got, what, 6 Pokemon done? Let's continue. Let's keep going. Let's throw something else in there or something.
Sakurai work on Smash, but
exactly
Pokemon.
But just Pokemon, Super Smash Pokemon. That would be...
I'd be down for that.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah.
I still have my fingers crossed that the Smash announcement from last week was going to be a Pokemon, and they were going to announce Gen 4, and that didn't happen.
Yeah. So the criticism is it's, you know, baby's first RPG, right? And so the battle system is a turn-based.
I don't like that connotation. I think it's a very approachable RPG, but just calling it a baby RPG makes it feel you're almost not quite belittling, but you're poking fun at something people really do enjoy. Regardless of age.
It's a game that allows for as much breadth of depth as you want to inject into it. It can either be baby's first RPG, or it can be as difficult as you want it to be if you, say, want to do a Nuzlocke run or so on and so forth.
Proper IV, EV training, competitive, Smogon rules, all that stuff.
I will say, and I'm going to keep bringing this game up, because it really is the best example of how to do this turn-based combat right. It's Persona 5. Persona 5, the reason why Persona 5 works so well, and every single fight you get into is engaging, whether it's a boss or just a random enemy, like one of these random encounters that you have in Persona 5, is because of the way the combat system is, and it's because it doesn't leave you not on your turn for very long. It immediately, the enemy does their thing, and then it's back to you. So, like, what if they made it so that you could have multiple Pokemon out at the same time, and you choose which each one of these Pokemon do? Like, you change up the way the battle works.
Double battles do exist.
Yeah,
triple battles do exist.
Like,
they no longer do.
Like, Persona has really good things like the one more or the all out attacks, and that, like, the presentation of them really engage you enough that, like, and then it continuously comes back to you. There's things that you can do as a player to extend your turn as long as you can, and I think things like
baton passing.
Yeah, baton passing, things like that. All
Pokemon has baton passing.
Well, that's literally an attack move.
It's a move, and it pushes your Pokemon and retains any stat boost. God damn it!
Just to close out my thoughts on the battle system specifically, and I like where you're going with that. So when I was thinking about it before the show today, I was just like, okay, so how do we make something like this more approachable and less, you know, less like still have it be approachable, but maybe take it to the next step, right? What if Pokemon was the battle system was a little bit more like a Final Fantasy Tactics, or better yet, like a D&D game with initiative rolls and, you know,
I feel like that's
perception rolls and stuff.
I thought they had that.
Pokemon Conquest.
Yeah, that's
okay. What is that?
That was a crossover with the Samurai Warriors universe.
With the Nobunaga's Ambition universe.
Which isn't that also Samurai Warriors? Because Nobunaga's in Samurai Warriors.
Oda Nobunaga is a historical figure from ancient Japan. He's shown up in multiple games because it's just like, oh well, yeah.
I see, but yeah, that essentially it paired up a character from that franchise with a partner Pokemon and used the Pokemon in turn-based battles to very similar to Final Fantasy Tactics. It was an isometric turn-based strategy.
So if they did something like that, but with let's say you had D&D level stats, right? But still found a way to like keep it approachable and keep it kid friendly and whatnot. Go ahead.
They have that. You have your HP, your attack, your defense. Like there is that level of depth if you're looking for it. But I still feel like the battle system, I don't think is what's at fault with Pokemon feeling stale. Just that is the core of the franchise. I don't think you can change that much without losing that approachability.
What I'm saying is I would like to see an initiative roll rather than an invisible speed stat.
But it's not invisible. Yours is available to your enemies.
The enemies is not.
I do like where Alex is at in the idea that like the Pokemon series should kind of remain turn-based, but it can definitely figure out ways to kind of give its battles a little bit more flair, work within those turn-based confines, and just make things that much more engaging and cinematic. Yeah. I think like here's the thing. I totally do want a Pokemon game that is an RPG, but where battles like take place on a entirely 3D realm where you can move your Pokemon whichever way you so choose. I do want that game. I think saying that like that should replace the mainline games is kind of like being like, I think that Street Fighter should switch from like its fighting game system to like, again, at like its own like 3D-esque kind of battle system.
It should go from what it is to the weird over-the-shoulder thing they did in the 3DS game or something.
It should be more like Soul Calibur or like...
And they tried that and it wasn't good.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's
Street Fighter EX.
It should keep its identity but be able to expand on it.
Yeah. And I want to, at this point, shout out two things, and that is the developers the people working at Crema and those working at, where's the other one? Lime Turtle Incorporated, as both of these developers have put out Pokemon inspired games in the past couple of years, those being Nexomon, Extinction, and Temtem. And I feel like more competition directly in that space, whether it's good or bad, is competition breeds innovation. Sure. So we saw what Temtem did, or is doing, since it's still technically in beta, with making it more of an MMO, more of an open world, more connectivity. And Nexomon did some of that as well. So hopefully Nintendo's taking some cues from these developers and adding some of this functionality back into Pokemon, but we'll have to wait and see.
So here's my question. Mm-hmm. And I know Pokemon prints money, and they're not going to do this.
Yeah.
Nope.
But does it make sense for them not to take a few years off and figure out what the next step? Because I feel like the Pokemon series just plays it safe. It's just constant safety, and there's no risks taken. There was no risks taken when they did Sword or Shield, and they really need to stop. They need to take a risk with that franchise and do something different.
They can definitely take a year break. Like there have been some years where there has been no mainline Pokemon game, and it's worked out fine with them.
Has there?
But
yeah.
But I mean,
then they came out with
mainline or
Let's
remake.
Go.
I feel like there's been one every year for the most part. Let me take a look.
There was definitely one year where they didn't have anything. I don't like all that to say. I do think, Nathan, that they could take a short break. They wouldn't be able to take a long break because the market
take a year or
more
two.
Pokemon.
We had nothing in 2015.
Yeah, that's the year I was thinking of.
Nothing in 2015. But other than that, it more or less goes back. Something I was looking at is the one of the best known directors in the Pokemon series is Junichi Masuda. Yeah. And we know that he did not work. He was a producer on Sword and Shield, but he directed Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee in 2018. But we're now looking at 3 years since the last title that he directed. So the hope from the community is that he's gone underground. He's gone. Well, no, he hasn't gone underground. He's worked on the titles, but he's kind of gone and he's working on his own kind of the next big thing for Pokemon. Because it feels like every time he's directed a title, Let's Go notwithstanding, that has been sort of a next step, or there's been something that really pushed the envelope. So hopefully this extra year that he's been provided via the Pokemon DLC really does make whatever title that he's been more closely involved with pop that much more.
It's interesting you say that, because I've also heard the argument from some people that, like, okay, now that Junichi Masuda is not involved, like, new, fresher blood will be able to kind of take the series reins and take it in a more interesting direction than it's been for the past couple of iterations. Like, I like Junichi Masuda quite a bit, but I have heard the argument that, like, he's sort of part of the problem with regards to the series, feeling, you know, very kind of same-ish, feeling, you know, again, like, just having this sort of, like, level of, you know, uncreativeness that we typically associate with games like, you know, the new Super Mario Bros. Series, for example, where it is just sort of the same thing again and again, still very high quality and very polished, but not particularly risk-taking or exciting or striking.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting to a point now where the people that grew up with these games are now working on these games, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to get to a point where people that love these games, they love playing the original games as kids, will get here and they'll be like, we'll get into positions to make those decisions at Game Freak, kind of like you're saying, Cozy, and hopefully they are able to do something different. I know that I think it was when they developed X and Y, they developed all of these really high res assets that they then they de-resed for 3DS. Now they're using them on the Switch. I know it would suck and it would be very ballsy of them to do this, but throw away this art style. Throw it away.
Yeah,
do everything again from the ground up. Go with a more cel-shaded or anime-inspired approach, similarly to what we saw in Persona 5. And maybe that's a shot in the arm that the series could use.
Yeah, I think in agreement, you know,
one of many,
earlier when I brought up the new Super Mario Bros. Series a second ago, I was going to say that, like, if I had to describe in just one sentence, like, the direction that Pokemon should go in from where it is right now, like, it should go from new Super Mario Bros. To Yoshi's Island, in the sense that, like, Yoshi's Island, also a through 2D platformer like New Super Mario Bros, but much more stylish, you know, has a very kind of distinct art style that has not been replicated an awful lot. You know, it takes the mechanics that you're familiar with and doesn't, like, utterly reinvent them or toss out the baby with the bathwater, but just figures out a way to, you know, really add a extra level of liveliness to them. And I know chronologically Yoshi's Island came before New Super Mario Bros, but you get what I'm driving at.
But they've also done things like Woolly World that really did depart from the traditional art style. So maybe there's a chance for Pokemon to do something similar. But go ahead, AJ.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that I remember from being a kid was when Pokemon Coliseum was about to come out or whatever. I remember getting it, and I never finished it because, you know, they did take what I wanted was the mainline Pokemon to be able to play on my GameCube, right? And that's more or less what Sword and Shield is. Now, me being an adult, I'm so many years divorced from that moment. You know, that's why I didn't get Sword or Shield. It didn't hit me the same with this one, and Gigantamax just didn't do it for me. It just didn't look interesting at all. But the problem that I had with Coliseum when that came out was you weren't catching wild Pokemon, you were theoretically rescuing these shadow Pokemon that, you know, the bad team had, and you had to purify them. And it's just like, that's like, it's, they tried to do something different and interesting with it. Too much
of a departure.
But it didn't feel like the right Pokemon anymore. And I'm sure if I went back and played it, like our good friend Jigsaw is about to do this week or next week or something.
I think tomorrow
is he's going
to start Coliseum, because he finished Radical Red last night. I was watching; it was great.
Oh hell yeah, yeah. So and I think if I went back and or maybe if I check into his stream, I would probably appreciate it a little bit more now, just in general. I don't know if something like that is necessarily what the franchise needs. Like, I picture something that doesn't take it too far into the wrong direction. Something like, listen, there should be an acknowledgement that the original players are adults now, find an all-encompassing story that lets you be that 10-year-old kid, or lets us be the adult now, starting our adventure now. It kind of like how in the movie Detective Pikachu, the main character was an insurance salesman and didn't want anything to do with actually catching Pokemon, because he was just going, like, it was a very good analogy to our real lives. Like, oh yeah, you know, we're adults now, we don't do this Pokemon thing anymore, but actually no, we do, right? So I think there should be an acknowledgement that, hey, the kids who loved Pokemon have grown up, but also there are still kids who love Pokemon. You know, there should be a balance there. Go for it, Mitch.
I am a big kid that loves Pokemon. I just bought from I think I showed it off on the show a couple of weeks ago. I got a Lugia shirt, a Croconaw plush, and a Dreepy plush. I'm all in. This is my favorite games franchise of all time, bar none. What happened to the key system?
The key system?
I don't even know what that is.
The key system was introduced in Pokemon Black and White, and it introduced a challenge mode that made the game more difficult. Bring back multiple difficulties.
I mean, I'd be totally fine with that.
If you want an easier experience, have an easier experience. If you want the challenge, bring it back. Give me challenge mode, baby. But that was the last thing I wanted to get in. If no one's got anything else really big or overwhelming you want to discuss, then I think we could get into some of our listener feedback or listener thoughts on this Pokemon patch notes. Pause for interruption. Go ahead.
Yeah, the only other thing I'll bring up, and I'll try to keep this as succinct as possible because I've talked a lot on this episode, is I think that
you knew you and I would be talking a lot on this one, so it's all good.
I think that the Pokemon games also need to revise the central plot lines that players experience as they go through the mainline games. This is sort of like touching up on a bit of everything that we've discussed thus far in this episode. But, some of the earlier Pokemon games, like Pokemon Red and Blue and Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, while you would not necessarily praise them as being these two of the forces with regards to the quality of their writing, I feel like they were nevertheless very effective in terms of what they set out to do. Both are like, hey, both these games have these evil teams, Team Rocket, Team Magma, Team Aqua. You are immediately right off the bat, early on in the adventure, going to be introduced to them. You're going to be introduced to the fact that they have villainous ambitions, and over the course of the game, you are going to fight them in a series of escalating conflicts that will eventually lead to a badass showdown at the very end of the game. I feel like a lot of the most recent Pokemon games, and I don't know if this is just because they're running out of ideas for these evil team plot lines, or again because producing them has been so expensive and it's taken away resources from this aspect of their development, but a lot of the evil teams I feel are lacking in that area. Either they're just like too silly, or it's not communicated well enough whether you're supposed to take them seriously or not, or whether you're supposed to even view them as evil, like Team Flare, for example, which is the evil team in Pokemon X and Y, and or the kind of threat that they pose is not introduced until like extremely late in the game, as was the case with, like, I would say Team Flare, and also the evildoers that were in Pokemon Sun and Moon, and especially that were in Sword and Shield. That game especially, it felt like the whole evil team plot was shoehorned in at the very last minute, and it was disappointing because I think one thing that Sword and Shield did really well is they really kind of showed off the celebrity and fame and razzle dazzle of the gym leaders in that region in all their glory. Meeting and challenging gym leaders there really felt special in the way it had not felt in previous entries in the series. And I feel like if the game had focused exclusively on that and had not tried to shoehorn in a like evil team plot into its proceedings, people would have been upset in the moment, but I think ultimately, looking back in retrospect on it, they would have been like, oh, hey, I appreciate that it focused in on this one thing that it did really well, which is the gym leader stuff, and didn't try to, do a whole bunch of things mediocrely. But obviously that didn't come to pass. And so, I think if they're going to continue to have these like evil teams, evil plot lines in their games, I think the Pokemon series needs to kind of take some cues from some of their earlier games in the series, again, like Ruby, Sapphire, Red, Blue, of introducing their evil teams earlier on, introducing what they stand for, and have the conflicts with these evil teams be in an escalating fashion. But also, as we've talked about, they need to also figure out, like, how can we modernize this? How can we make this appealing to both new time players and also older fans like us that are adults and that are craving slightly more adult plot lines.
Just give me black and white again, baby. That's all I need. All right, let's get into a bit of our fan feedback for this week's patch notes. Our good friend Robbie Rob writes in and says, for starters, for the announcements we'll see this week, he's with you, Cozy. Diamond and Pearl Remake seems like a lock. For what could be improved, a new engine that can run so that Pokemon can fully utilize the current hardware that it's on, so it feels a little more modern. We've seen other games from series like Assassin's Creed, Doom, and The Witcher do this on the Switch hardware. There's no reason why Pokemon couldn't. Paul Despawn writes in and says, I think introducing more of a challenge would be great. So we talked on that a little bit as well.
Yeah.
The current iteration felt more like a reset and simplification. At no point was there any risk of losing if you really did put in some minor effort. This guy Times Hero just says Pokemon Breath of the Wild. That doesn't seem useful at all, so we'll just skip past that.
That sounds like a great idea to me.
It's
not at all.
Well, I wouldn't like it as a mainline entry necessarily. I would still love it too.
Well, I mean, our boy Sal comes back at us, and he brings up a very similar point of just an open world take on the series. Why not make it open world? They've experimented with the wild area now of having it be wide and open, like an open multiplayer hub. So why not just expand that, make it a more open world, more open-ended game?
You guys played that Pixelmon Minecraft mod, right? And that seemed to be it seemed really interesting when I watched you play for a bit. If team up with Microsoft and license the Minecraft look and generate a world that is the same world, but then go explore it.
Didn't they do
That's
Pokemon
Quest
spin-off game? Yeah, Pokemon Quest. It's not Minecraft at all. They just look like Minecraft characters.
I am curious, Mitch, because I know that you played the 2 DLCs for Pokemon Sword and Shield as well. Do you feel like the Crown Tundra and Isle of Armor, that their designs were sort of suggesting that is the direction that the Pokemon series is naturally going to go into? Or do you look at those games and be like, oh, they feature kind of a more open-ended design because they're just experimenting a little bit, and you don't think that we'll necessarily see this translate over to the mainline series?
I think it's a bit of both, honestly. I think if we do get a Diamond and Pearl remake as the next games, that the area underneath, I think it was the cycling road, right? That could be prime real estate to have expanded and deforested and turn that into a wild area sort of equivalent for that game. I think it is on one part them experimenting, but on another part we did see a focus on multiplayer with the addition of Dynamax Adventures in the Crown Tundra. So I think moving into more, multiplayer focused areas makes a lot of sense. Sal brings up a point on the open world talk that we saw what Temtem did in terms of an open shared experience, and maybe they'll bring some more of that into the mainline games. And like I mentioned earlier, trying a little harder on those models because they seem a little static. Rob comes back with another point based on what Paul said earlier. New Game Plus. Ability to start a new save without wiping out everything. Multiple saves. Sal brought up multiple saves as well. Give us a way to continue to play these games without, I know I've started multiple playthroughs of Shield just using multiple profiles on the Switch because it's literally the only way to do it. And it would be great if there was a better way in game to do things like that. But does anyone have anything else they want to bring up in this patch notes for the Pokemon series?
Take notes from other franchises that have figured out battle systems and take some risks. Do something a little bit different. Because I haven't played it. Final Fantasy VII Remake. It has the toggle between the live action, the live battle, or there is a setting that you can kind of make it turn-based.
There's a setting to make it traditional, which doesn't make it turn-based, but it makes it so that the segments between you deciding actions are all kind of frozen in time, but it is still at its core an action RPG.
Yeah. So maybe something like that where you can have what it is now currently, if that's what you'd prefer, to just keep hitting the A button and keep selecting your attack and whatnot, or the ability to make it maybe a little more interactive in the battle and bring it up to that level, to where rather than just here's your two creatures and they're just going to bump into each other one after the other, maybe make it so you have to strategically place yourself on, a 9x9 grid, go Mega Man Battle Network style or something, but like turn-based.
I think something like that makes a lot of sense for a spin-off title, and I think we could very well see an action RPG spin-off of the Pokemon franchise. Maybe it has legs, maybe it doesn't. I don't see them messing with the core formula, because ultimately that is what makes the series as successful as it's been, is its approachability. Because we've seen them try things like Conquest, like Ranger, like Mystery Dungeon, which is also a dungeon crawling RPG kind of experience.
Yeah, but it's like
experimented around it.
Those the problem, and the problem why I can't connect with those, and I suspect why enough people can, that they keep making different ones and newer ones and whatnot. But my personal issue with it is that it's not the main line. I want the main line.
If you don't like those mechanics when they're in a spin-off game, why would you want a mainline game when it's just the same gameplay as the spin-off?
I like, what I like is the adventure of the, you start from nothing, work your way up, build your team up. But what I don't like is adding in them trying to them changing it up in the, now you're catching other trainers' shadow Pokemon instead. I want it to still be that same core Pokemon. You're going catching wild Pokemon and training them up, but changing the battle system itself is still and continuing like the story of like getting badges or whatnot. Yeah, Nathan's done. That's great. He's had enough. I think the progression of getting the badges and making yourself stronger is still good. So there's a balance there, and I think it's time they took a risk on the main. Personally.
Anyone have anything else? Because if nobody else has anything to say, I'm just going to give my closing thoughts, which I'll try to keep to under 20 minutes.
I think you can.
And on that note, I think we can wrap up the show.
I hold on. I do want to just
give your closing thoughts, because I was just kidding. Go for it.
To swing quickly back around to our earlier discussion of what we can expect from Pokemon in the future, and me thinking that we're most likely going to get Diamond and Pearl remakes, given the mounting amount of evidence that suggests that's what's going to happen. I do think that there is a lot of potential in this hypothetical Diamond/Pearl remake. When you look at all the pros and cons of Pokemon Sword and Shield and all the pros and cons of the original versions of Diamond and Pearl, I feel like the two theoretically complement each other very well. Pokemon Sword and Shield, I think, did a great job of getting you into the action very quickly. There was very little in the way of tutorials. They kind of railroaded you to the wild area as soon as possible, and I think there were a lot of really good quality of life improvements in that experience that fans have been wanting for years, and that Game Freak finally answered. Not every single quality of life improvement, but enough that people are like, okay, this still feels like a step up. On the contrast, though, I talked a little bit before about how like the region outside of the wild area felt a little bit small. There isn't a lot of like interesting other places to explore, and not much in the way of a post game outside of like a funny little plot with those two guys that have giant fluffy hair pieces that look like swords and shields. It's confusing. If you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. In contrast with Diamond and Pearl, I feel like Diamond and Pearl did a great job of presenting a really kind of huge, voluminous region with lots of like secret places to explore, and it also had I'd say pretty good villainous plot as well, to just call back to that thing which we were talking about earlier. But the Diamond and Pearl games were definitely some of the slowest Pokemon games, both in terms of just like running around and like riding on your bike and surfing around the map, but also in terms of the speed with which it got you into the experience, the clip with which you progress from like Gym 1 to Gym 2 to Gym 3 compared to Sword and Shield. And so in theory, a remake of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl that takes everything that was good about Sword and Shield, everything that was good about Diamond and Pearl, and cuts out all the fat, could be really exciting. But I do have to acknowledge that, it doesn't necessarily automatically answer a lot of the other issues that we've raised over the course of this conversation, like how making the battle system feel a little bit more dynamic, taking more risks, doing more with its story overall to really engage us older players that want something that, acknowledges the fact that we've been with this series for 25 years. So I, for one, am really looking forward to seeing what these hypothetical remakes have in store. But, I fully acknowledge that there's still room for them to grow and be better.
And on that note, thank you, Cozy, for that eloquent finale to this episode of Patch Notes for the Pokemon series. And if you've got any closing thoughts on what you think Pokemon could do that we didn't really touch on, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter, here on Twitch, over in the YouTube comments, and also in YouTube, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. We very much do appreciate it. But with that being said, as stated, you can catch this show every... I'm just going to restart my outro. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Press YYZ. If you enjoyed what you just heard, be sure to click that subscribe button on YouTube. Check us out on Twitch. Rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Come hang out with us on Discord. And follow us on Twitter at Press YYZ, where we keep you up to date on everything regarding going live and new episodes of this show and any other show we do being posted. And of course, the rest of the crew can be found all over the internet. Cozy?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at AlexXena and over on Twitch at twitch.tv/CozyBearLive. On my most recent episode of Cozy Bear's Cooking, I actually decided to cook up a recipe that players could find in Marvel's Spider-Man, the 2018 game. Basically, in that game, if you recall, you can collect all these various backpacks, and those backpacks yield little interesting collectibles that give you more insight into Peter Parker's past life. One of those little collectibles is a recipe for Aunt May's wheat cakes, and so I figured, why not take this recipe, use it to make actual wheat cakes, which basically are just pancakes, but then why not take the same batter and also use it to batter up some hot dogs and deep fry those, and why not make some waffles as well? If any of those are of interest to you, please go give the channel a check out. That's twitch.tv/CozyBearLive.
AJ?
Yeah, you can find me all over the internet at Times Hero, capital T, capital H. I've been a little light on streaming the past couple of weeks. Every once in a while, you just kind of get hit by the big sad, and you don't feel like doing much, and games don't interest you the same way that they used to. So, I'm just taking it easy, trying not to overdo it. Try not to actually burn myself out on the idea of streaming, but yeah, I've been playing Zelda. I've got a full playthrough of at the very least the first 50 shines of Bowser's Fury, and also worlds 1 through 8 of Super Mario 3D World. So go check that out. I would greatly appreciate it.
Nathan?
Follow me at _NMAC on Twitter and Instagram. And if I have new reviews to talk about, check them out on PS4blog.net.
Alex Ballant.
You can find me on Instagram at blatantlyalex and Twitter blatantly_Alex.
When can we expect that new movie to come out?
And probably beginning May, maybe end of April.
Cool.
Good to know.
Could You
Sweet.
Leave is what it is called.
Oh.
I guess so, if you're asking.
If you insist, I am all over the internet at Mr. Mitch George, and as always, rest in peace, Anthem.
Take care, guys.
Too soon.